Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Hooked on Sports here on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasting streaming services. My name is Sean Flynn, and thank you so very much for listening to the episode or the podcast or watching it on my YouTube channel. So, we're gonna have two episodes this week because I got something cooked up for Thursday this week that I'm excited to offer you for in terms of in terms of the over unders for the my over under picks for all 30 teams this season across Major League Baseball. So that'll be specifically um for Thursday because spring training play opens up on Friday. As several teams will start their spring training games then, so I'll do my over under predictions on Thursday. I have them ready to go for need be. So I'm going to talk about the NBA All Star festivities and why that is a much needed win for the NBA after a terrible week that they had with all the questions about the tanking and the effort. I'll get into some of the Olympic stuff. I'll get into college hoops and why Iowa State's victory over Houston last night was a gigantic deal, and basically I'll tell you the teams that I believe will be in my national championship conversation as we are a month away from the start of the NCAA tournament. It starts 4 weeks from tonight on St. Patrick's Day. And I do have some quickies to discuss about the Jaguars, the Miami Dolphins, so the NFL Week 1 schedule for next year is starting to take shape. So I'll get into all of that. But I think the biggest story over the last few days has been the surprising success of the NBA All-Star Weekend. The NBA goes back to broadcast television this year for the All-Star Game, and the ratings increase from 4.7 million from last year to 8.8 million this year. So I think that there was something a big deal there, and really we'll find out if the format worked. But I kind of did like the format this year because you had three different teams. You had younger USA players, older USA players, and then the international crowd. So that they're all going head to head against one another, and we had Kawhi Leonard shine for and over the weekend you had Victor Wembanyama doing Victor Wembanyama things, and Anthony Edwards being sensational as always. So those were individually some big winners. So you had Damian Lillard win the 3-point contest despite playing through an injury on that. But so that was pretty interesting there as well. So those to me were I think were my two personal favorite moments from the All-Star Weekend. So so you have that in mind. But let's face it, the NBA was under a ton of pressure to deliver on the All-Star game this year after seeing so much in terms of non-competitiveness and not being interested. I said the risk of injury is obviously a concern, but so you have to look at the at that as a big success for the NBA, and really you kind of have to look at this as not such a good day for the skeptics and the haters because the ratings added up. Thanks to it being back on national TV. So the time change was different on Saturday and Sunday because of the Olympics, of the Olympic coverage on NBC, and trying to get the Olympic get a prime time a summary of what transpired that day at the Olympics in Milan and Cortina. So I think this was a format that I think could be helpful going forward here for Adam Silver. So we will see what are the things that they try to do to reverse the sinking reputation of the NBA. Obviously, the tanking problem needs to be fixed. Yeah, you obviously need to figure out other things with the structure, such as the draft lottery and the draft and all of that. But any win in any kind the NBA can take at this point is dearly needed. So we had that. So I think we'll see what transpires with the NBA. And I mean, and so now on to some Olympic stuff. Now, a note from Saturday that just as I finished recording episode 397, Jordan Stoltz, who I had mentioned had the opportunity to win the speed skating 500 meters gold medal, wound up winning that and setting an Olympic record in that fashion. So I mean, I think it's clear now he is the best speed skater in the world, and results like he showed. So coming back from lackluster performances last year, returning to winning, to sweeping the individual events in the 15 in the 5 and 1,000 meters over the week in the first week of the Olympics, and now he has the opportunity to go for more on Thursday with the 1,500 meter final, and then then the mass start on Saturday. So that's really that. But the juiciest storyline of the last few days of the Olympics has been the revelations of curling and the controversy surrounding both the men's and women's teams from Canada, because I think it was a match between Canada and Sweden where tensions really got started here, because in curling you're after you release the stone, you're not supposed to touch it once you release it. So now with all the controversies was starting up in Sweden calling the Canadians out on that, now you're going to have an official that really is going to have to keep their eyes on potential gamesmanship violations, and this is supposed to be a gentlemanly sport, and it's supposed to be one where you show where like you're on your honor, you should be trusted in that. But I think this was a bad job by the International Curling Foundation, International Curling Federation, for not thinking of that problem. Of course, they had a similar controversy about 10 years ago, and they had to change some governing rules on gameplay on that. But I think the crazy thing about the Winter Olympics really is that every sport, from speed skating, hockey, skiing, snowboarding, they're all kind of extreme sports, except figure skating and in there as well. Luge, skeleton, bobsleigh, whatever. So curling is the exception to that rule because it's a lot of strategy and precision and accuracy and execution really are the key skills you need to thrive to survive in curling. But So, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, because for sure that the rules are going to be changed prior to the next Olympics. So we'll see how that transpires. And the last big piece I wanted to discuss in terms of the Olympics is the sheer domination by U.S. hockey, because the women's team has cruised all the way to the gold medal game. That'll take place on Thursday. The women's hockey team has the gold medal game on Thursday against Canada. The U.S. Should be a heavy favorite going into that. And I just want to pull up these insane numbers from from over the weekend. So the quarterfinal the quarterfinal game against Italy, they beat the hosts on Saturday. They won 6-0, and they scored more goals than the Italians than the Italians had shots. And in the 6 matches they've in the 6 games they've played so far, so they have outscored their opponent by a margin of 31-1. So we'll see how that transpires against Canada, who is arguably the biggest threat all along. And this is the 7th successive time no, I shouldn't say the 7th successive, the 7th time in the Olympic tournament history that the gold medal matches between the United States and Canada. So I think it's going to be it's going to be the toughest task for the Americans, obviously, based upon what Canada is capable of, and so and then being able to find a way and win. So Marie Phillips Poulin is back at, and she's playing at a high level. She set the Olympic record for goals in an Olympic career in the victory, in their victory over Switzerland on Monday night. So I do expect the U.S. to win that. But then on the men's side, it's going to get a whole lot interesting for that. So because you have the Team USA, your Team Canada that doesn't have to play. It doesn't have to play in the first round of the playoff round. The U.S. will play will on Thursday. Tomorrow we'll play the winner of Sweden and Latvia. I believe Sweden will win that one. Canada will play the winner of Denmark and Czechia, also known as the Czech Republic. Slovakia will play the winner of Germany and France. Finland will play the winner of Switzerland and Italy. I think that if the U.S. and Canada do meet in this tournament, it won't be until the final, because Canada and the U.S. are the top 2 teams, and they're going to reseed everyone after the quarterfinals are done. So it's impossible for those sides to meet until the championship, until the gold medal match, to close out the Olympic Winter Games on Sunday. So I do think at the end of the day it's going to be the U.S. and Canada. I think Sweden, if assuming they beat Latvia, they're going to be a tough draw for the U.S. You also have to think about Finland as well, because they won their last match against the host Italy, winning 11-0 in that one. So I think it's going. I do think you're gonna see either the U.S. or Canada hoist the gold medal at the when it's all said and done. And by the way, the U.S. men's hockey team has still not won a gold medal at the Olympic Winter Games for the first since 1980, and the last day of and the gold medal match will mark the 46-year anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. Which we should be noted that here that did not decide the gold medal winner of that. The U.S. had to beat Finland a couple of days later to win the Olympic gold, or else the entire story of the Miracle on Ice is nowhere near as advanced in the legacy of the American mind as it is right now. So we have that discuss as the Olympics wind down. Now on to college hoops. So now we're going to get more into college hoops for the next few weeks. There, because the NCAA tournament begins 1 month from today, on Tuesday, March 17th, where the first of 67 single elimination games to determine a national champion will take place with the first 4 in Dayton, Ohio, and we have some unbelievable college basketball action throughout the course of the week. You have Michigan playing Purdue tonight. You have Michigan taking on Duke in a non-conference game on Saturday, alongside Arizona, Houston, among other games. But I think what transpired last night between Houston and Iowa State, I think, is a gigantic deal in terms of the national championship conversation, because I really think because Iowa State was down 10 points against an exceptionally well coached Houston squad with 5 minutes left, and they wound up making a furious comeback and wound up winning some clutch threes from Iowa State after being shut down from that part of the court for the vast majority of the second half. They make some clutch shots, and they're able to take down Houston and win in a disciplined way. They protected the basketball, and they made tough and clutch shots when it mattered the most, to beat Houston. And look, right now, I think there are 5 teams, maybe 6 or 7. But I definitely have a group of 5 teams that can win the national championship set in stone for right now, because in my power rankings, I think Michigan's number 1. I think Michigan's is because my takes they haven't been documented as much on this podcast, but in my mind, Michigan has been the best team I've seen all year, and I think that's been established since around Thanksgiving, when they were demolishing potential tournament teams by 20 points, 30 points, 40 points, and they're just so deep. They're so well coached by Dusty May. And I think they're in for something special. Iowa State on the heels. We didn't know what they were going to be like, but they've rounded into form. They just beat Kansas. They just beat Houston at home. I think they're in the conversation. Houston, I think they have some quick fixes to the reasons that they lost to Iowa State last night, but I thought they played a really, really good game despite the loss. You have that. I'm also putting Arizona in the conversation. I know they just lost twice in a week where they were ranked number 1 in the country. They lost at Kansas and they lost at home to Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a really good, solid basketball squad. And they deserve a lot of credit. They are well coached, and they have such a good in-game tactician. They're a head coach, and the other team I'm going to put in that group of 5 conversation, I think, is Purdue, because I think what what Braden Smith can do. I think he can change games in any type of fashion whatsoever. So I look at that. So I look at uh, I look at Michigan, I look at Iowa State, I look at Houston, I look at Arizona, and I look at Purdue. As to my mind, the five teams that can win a championship. Now, and I think that there is another tier just below it, and I think the gap between teams 1 through 9, and more especially teams 2 through 9, is one of the tightest that I've ever seen. At this point of a season, you have so many teams that are so good this late, and they have such impressive numbers and adjusted metrics this late into the season. So I think in this next tier of teams, because I have Florida, I have Duke, I have UConn, I have Illinois. I would put Texas Tech in that conversation as well. I think you're gonna have, if you have these teams that are expected to win multiple tournament games, meet in Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups. I think it's going to be superb. I think it's going to be great for the game of college basketball. I've seen so many studs be part of a part of the NCAA tournament, and a lot of them are going to a good amount of their key players are going to be could be potential first round picks in the NBA draft in June. So it's gonna be we're gonna be hot and heavy on the college basketball stuff for the next few weeks. So we got that as well. So last episode there was no NFL conversation. I made sure to make sure I did not mention anything about football because of the break in there. But I do have 5 quickies that I wanted to touch on. So Travis Hunter was the number 2 overall pick in the draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. The Jaguars traded up from 5 to 2 in the first round to draft him. They gave up a first round pick next year, as part of the return package. And now reports that this week that Travis Hunter is going to be a full-time corner and a part-time wide receiver. And look, I never loved what Gladstone did in the draft, because I never loved Travis Hunter, and have his game translate fully into the NFL. He was always a better corner than a receiver. And you didn't hear much about that because he was hurt, but Jacksonville still wound up winning thanks to the brilliant coaching of Liam Cohen and a superb defense. So they go and win the division. But I do think Jacksonville is going to take a step back next year. I really do. I don't think you're going to see the same magic that you had from the Jaguars this year with that. Another big deal is what two fronts on the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins are rounding up their well, first of all, I should say that the Dolphins made some big moves on Monday. They released Bradley Chubb. They released Tyreek Hill to create to get themselves for themselves just to get under the salary cap for the year, so they can make moves to improve the team. And I mean, I mean, all that needed to happen was for Chris Greer to be competent at his job, and then none of these painful but necessary moves would happen. And Tyreek Hill is now a free agent, and because he was released before the start of the league year, he can theoretically sign with anybody right now. So if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, does this make sense to you? I wonder if you are the New York Football Giants, because Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, has ties to Tyreek Hill during their early days together in KC. Is he going to go to the Giants? Is he going to go to San Francisco? That could be an interesting possibility. Or does he go to the Chargers, team that needs a wide receiver move, and Mike McDaniel's the offensive coordinator there? So you had that. So But I really think I'm really invested to see what the Dolphins do through the draft because I think that's really going to be will be the most redeeming thing of the next 12 months for Miami because I think they're going to be dreadful next year. It's anyway, so they really need to build through the draft, and John Eric Sullivan is going to be and the Dolphins will be one of the few teams that are going to have my eyes on the most in terms of how their GMs navigate the draft. And they also rounding out their offensive coaching staff alongside Bobby Slowick to be the offensive coordinator. The Dolphins are bringing in Kevin Patullo to be their passing coordinator, the former Eagles offensive coordinator. So yeah, I think it's going to be that type of year for the Dolphins. But as long as the Dolphins show that they have a plan and they have a direction for the future, I think that'll set themselves up well to be a potential destination for free agents starting in 2027, and where they can even clear the contract of Tua Tagovailoa as well. Let's go to the Bengals because we kind of want to look at Trey Hendrickson because it is unlikely that the Cincinnati Bengals will be able to retain Trey Hendrickson. Of course, the two teams had such a bitter feud in terms of a contract dispute during the offseason. Trey Hendrickson signed on to play with Cincinnati this year, but it turned out the defense around was just dreadful, and it doesn't appear that there'll be an impasse. It doesn't appear there will be an impasse and weak enough to for both sides to pass. But listen, if you are a team of the Indianapolis Colts, I think he makes a lot of sense for you to bolster that pass rush, which I thought was pretty underwhelming during the Colts 7-game losing streak to end the season. So you have that as well, then you have some some things going on with the Raiders in terms of their coaching staff. So Clint Kubiak is starting to put together his staff in Vegas. And one of the big questions is going to be whether Maxx Crosby gets a long-term contract with the Raiders because he is the face of the roster right now. He is the most notable player on the roster, and the Raiders promoted his position coach, defensive line coach Rob Leonard to be their defensive coordinator. So I think I think Clint Kubiak was smart in his press conference to say that we want this to be an opening or an inviting space for Maxx Crosby to come back and sign a long-term contract. But I do think that was one of the best hires of the coaching carousel in Clint Kubiak, and he's going to bring results, and I think we'll probably see it. It might not be this year, but I could definitely see it going forward with him and presume the one overall pick for Fernando Mendoza. With things being seen as well, and then finally the NFL is toying with the idea of scheduling their NFL Australia game, which will feature the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers in the first either in week one, either with the Wednesday or Thursday of that week. So whatever game or whatever night that 49ers versus Rams game falls on, that will be the other night will be the Seahawks opener where they raise the banner after winning the Super Bowl and celebrating the championship they had just won last week. So, but I mean, I just think the champs need to start the season home. That it's been a precedent. It happened in 2012 where the season started with the Super Bowl champs opening up the season at home on the Wednesday after Labor Day. It happened in 2012 because of Barack Obama's speech at the DNC, Democratic National Convention that took place the following day. So they needed to move the game from the regular Thursday to Wednesday, as a result. But yeah, Seattle needs to play the Wednesday after Labor Day if that is going to be the possible solution to a problem, to try and accommodate both the Rams and the Niners and the travel from Australia and the Seahawks opening up the season. And remember, the Seahawks have some outstanding candidates all across their home schedule for who they could possibly play. It could be the Patriots, the Giants, the Cardinals. It won't be the Cardinals, but you got the Patriots, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Bears. I think they're going to open the season against the Chicago Bears because I think the Bears brought in a lot of ratings throughout the postseason. That you had the highest you had the most watched streamed broadcast ever with the Bears win over the Packers in the wild card round, and then you had a big audience for the divisional round where Caleb Williams had that fourth quarter magic at the end, but about the Rams wound up winning anyway. So I think it's going to be the Bears, but because of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and all of that. But we'll see what it's like when the NFL schedule is released in 3 months for the 2026 season. So that'll do it for this edition of Hooked on Sports. Thank you so very much for listening and watching this podcast. So until next time, this is John Flynn saying so long. I'm gonna be back here on the podcast next week. Actually not next week. I'll be back on Thursday to reveal my over under picks for the 2026 MLB season. So until then, have wonderful next couple of days, and I'll talk to you again on Thursday. So long, everybody, and take care.